All right, guys, so I hope y'all are fired up and ready to go, man, because we are less than 10 days away from the NFL season opener against the Kansas City Chiefs. And over the last few hours, we've had several names become available for trade and in free agency, including some impact wide receivers. Plus, it's reported from The Athletic that the Ravens general manager, Eric DeCosta, could be aggressive in looking for some external options to improve the roster. The Ravens started their cut downs already, releasing several players, including a surprise cut. Plus, the Baltimore Ravens got great news on Tyler Linderbaum and other injury updates. We got all that and more, so welcome in to another episode of Ravens Reports. It's your guy Noah here with For the Flock, as always, bringing you guys our top 5 news reports and storylines coming out of our Baltimore Ravens today. I hope you all are having a great day. Let's dive into the content. At number 1, John Harbaugh announced that he does have his starting offensive line in place. They know who the starters are going to be, but they won't announce it yet because he says it's not necessarily a strategic advantage for the Kansas City Chiefs to know who they're rolling out there week 1 and to study each player's weaknesses or their strengths, right? So the Ravens have their guys. They know who the starters are. They're going to be practicing with them and getting all the reps they can before week 1 in less than 10 days, but they're not announcing it quite yet, and I don't blame them, to be quite frank. At number 2, speaking of the offensive line, Tyler Linderbaum and Nick Samek are both back at practice after missing some time. Tyler Linderbaum has been held out of practice for the last few weeks, but he was back in practice today with a non-contact jersey, but he was out there moving well, and it's reported that he should be ready to go for week 1. And Nick Samek dealt with an ankle injury that flared up during the game, the last preseason game against the Packers, after looking pretty nice and showing some nice depth behind Tyler Linderbaum. At number 3, let's get into some of these reports about cuts, free agent additions, trade rumors, and more, man. All right, so the Ravens, it's reported by several NFL insiders that there are some veteran wide receivers available for trade, and there's some others that were recently released. Now, the biggest one I'm really excited about, who's a free agent, you don't have to give up any draft capital, is Donovan-Peoples-Jones. Let me tell you why. He's 6'2", 204 pounds. He has a 600-yard season of production in 2021 and an 800-yard season of production in 2022, and he's only 25 years old. With just last season, the Lions traded for DPJ and then ultimately cut him this offseason. I don't know if he fell out of favor with the coaching staff. I don't know if he's dealt with nagging injuries. I know last year he dealt with some injuries, but he seems to be healthy right now and could be a nice piece that I think would improve the back end of this wide receiver core. One of the things he's known for is downfield playmaking ability. That would be a nice added element to the offense after, rookie 4th-round pick Devontae Walker has not necessarily shined in training camp or preseason in that department. DPJ, Rashad Bateman, and Zay Flowers with Nelly and Tylan Wallace. I think he would be an immediate upgrade at the wide receiver position. Only 25 years old with a lot of recent production. It's not like, I don't think you stumble into a 600 and 800 yard season. And with the type of production he's put out there on tape, he's a good football player. At only 25 years old, I'd love the Ravens to kick the tires on this one. There's also some other running backs available here after the Ravens have dealt with some injuries there with Rasheen Ali and, of course, Owen Wright breaking his foot in that preseason game. We got Samaje Perine being released, the free agent running back Matt Breida, who's had some good years, and then offensive lineman Max Sharping. Now, another wide receiver, 2 other guys that could be available via trade is wide receiver John Metchie, the 44th overall pick out of Alabama just a few years ago. He fell behind on the Texans' depth chart because of the amount of receivers they have in that room now, with multiple guys hitting in the draft, like Nico Collins, like Tank Dell, and of course the recent trade they executed with Stephon Diggs. John Metchie fell down that wide receiver depth chart real quick. He was a 2nd-round pick before battling leukemia, and is now completely recovered and just made a ton of plays in preseason. And it's reported that several teams are interested in trading for this wide receiver, but it wouldn't be cheap. This is a talented guy, a recent, 2nd-round draft pick, and he just put some really good stuff on preseason tape. He's explosive, and he was the 44th overall pick for a reason. I think might take a 3rd or a 4th round pick to get this type of receiver on your roster. However, a guy that could be a little bit cheaper is wide receiver Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick looked great recently in preseason after recovering from a torn ACL. The Ravens tried back in 2021 to inquire about bringing in wide receiver Tim Patrick. In Tim Patrick's last 2 healthy seasons, he's went over 700 yards in both of them with a combined 11 touchdowns, averaging about 14 yards per catch. He is a bigger body receiver at 6'4", but he is also 30 years old, so this would be a little bit of a higher risk type of trade, and I don't know how much it would take, maybe a 6th or 7th round draft pick. So out of all these guys we just mentioned, let me know in the comments who you'd be most interested in. And at number 4, Mark Andrews has yet to practice, and but John Harbaugh, he acknowledged that we are at the stage, and with the injury report and information, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, we're given information doesn't help the team from a competitive standpoint. However, though, he did seem to make it clear that Tyler Linderbaum, Mark Andrews, and Kyle Hamilton should be ready to rock and roll for week 1, barring any type of setbacks. What's weird is that the Ravens haven't really come out with anything what's going on with Mark Andrews. Ever since that car accident, he has not practiced. I don't know what's going on, if there's some off the field stuff, with maybe some stressful financial situations, lawsuits type of stuff. I don't know. Maybe he got a neck kink or something from the car wreck. At this point, it's all speculation. We have no idea because there's been no reports, but we do know that he hasn't practiced, but it seems like he's good and that he should be back practicing soon. But, there's no reason to hit the panic button, because even if he does miss some time, the Ravens happen to have one of the best tight end 2s in the National Football League. I think he'd be a starter on most teams, and I still think he's a top 10 tight end in the NFL, and Isaiah Likely. And the Ravens just happen to have 2 top tight ends on the same roster. Isaiah Likely, if he has to go in and start over Mark Andrews, if he misses any time, I'm not sweating about that whatsoever. And not to mention that Charlie Kolar has also looked really good, not only as a blocker, but as a big target in the pass game as well. At number 5, John Harbaugh, he says in today's press conference interview that they are dedicating the season to Coach Joe D, who recently passed away at 70 years old, the Ravens offensive line coach. That was a big blow to the morale of the team. A guy that they were just working with a few weeks ago, and then suddenly, he had some more health issues, complications from the surgery, and then before you know it, he passed away. So the Ravens, definitely a big blow, but they are dedicating the season to Joe D and Jacoby Jones, who also passed away this offseason. The Ravens are going to do everything in their power to try to get to New Orleans for that Super Bowl championship, and that journey all starts in less than 10 days when the Ravens kick off versus Kansas City. That's going to be a fun game, man. They just saw each other in the AFC Championship. Some teams lost some guys, added some guys, Derrick Henry being a big part of that equation, and I'm fired up for it, man. If you guys enjoyed today's content, make sure to smash the like button. It really does help out the channel. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.
When he wasn't looking, he ran me over.